The Rings of Power is back in the news, and the news, unfortunately, is not good. Of the audience that spent $450 million to make this show, and only 37% of the viewers who started the show finished the show.
Well, actually, I think according to the Wall Street Journal, Amazon spent $715 million if you put it all together, the rights and the production costs, on just this first season. And we all know that it flopped, and Amazon was coping about it, trying to hide the numbers.
This is where you learn about how to lie with numbers and headlines, right? So we kept looking for information relating to the viewing numbers as the weeks went on, because they had these great viewing numbers for the first episode. But then for the next month, all you saw was rewritten articles about how great the numbers were, and all of the numbers that they used for reference were the ones from those first 2 weeks.
And look at all the critic reviews.
Yes, they were so
glowingly positive.
So maybe a lot of people tuned in, check it out, but didn't stick around.
Well, that's what happened. Is people tuned in out of curiosity. They're like, "Oh, I love Lord of the Rings. I love Peter Jackson. What the hell is this garbage?" Like,
or they saw headlines that are,
anymore.
You know, how much they spent on the show, and they're wondering, this is going to be something great, right?
Yeah.
And we're obviously disappointed. They said that overseas they got 45% of the people who watched the first episode to finish the season.
It's just the people in New Zealand who
maybe. Yeah. And then they said even a 50% completion rate wouldn't be considered exceptional if it had gotten there, but they were not even close.
But there was articles long before the show came out where executives, Taylor, basically said it has to do well. So we will make it, like, I don't care if it does well, it has to do well.
And anyone who says that it's not doing well for some reason has a conspiracy against us, a personal vendetta to frame it that way. Like Jennifer Salke at Amazon, she said, this desire to paint the show as anything less than a success, it's not reflective of any conversation I'm having internally. It's not reflective of the conversations I'm having internally where everyone lies to me.
That's because if she was having that conversation internally, it would be on her exit interview after she got fired.
I'm sure that all the conversations she's having internally are still people coping and misrepresenting the failure that's happened with this show.
It's like whenever you see these headlines, the world is run by ad agencies, agents, and spokespersons who are like, so-and-so attacked this woman, and say, let's soften that to got into a disagreement with this woman. So it's like the Rings of Power is a complete failure with only 37% of the people that started the show finish it. Let's soften that to Rings of Power had a fantastic first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and this comes from the Hollywood Reporter. There was a lot more to this article than just that, but it was like obviously the headline because they hid those numbers for so long. They said that Amazon Studios is in a crisis right now because they're constantly trying to get big name producers and big name directors and actors in their projects at the expense of making something that is actually good.
I actually thought that when they got Michael B. Jordan to do the movie Without Remorse. I'm like, I didn't feel like Amazon needed Michael B. Jordan to do the like an action movie like that. Like they could have gotten any number of like higher level television talents rather than whatever it cost them. Granted, I think he was a producer on that as well, but still that means that he's being paid a lot to be involved on something like that.
Yeah, it calls them star effers.
Yes,
where they'll just do anything to appease these big name producers that they want to work with in the future, so they'll let objectively unsuccessful shows continue running even though there's no profit from them, like The Peripheral. That is an example of a show that never should have continued to a second season, but they approved it because the people producing it, they want them on other stuff.
I wonder if
so they don't want to have a bad relationship with them.
One thing that they do in a lot of these shows is they greenlight it for 2 seasons right off the bat, but they don't announce the second season. They just
it's
say
preemptively like, oh, what a great success, we approved it for a second season. Not going to tell you when we approved that.
The Peripheral too, which I couldn't get past the third episode for,
was
but
awful.
I loved the visuals of the show, but it was just kind of boring and didn't really speak to me. But then they had, and that's with Chloe Grace Moretz, who is objectively a big star. But then Reacher, which does as well as it does, only has Alan Richardson, who's not a huge star, and certainly doesn't have the name recognition that Chloe Grace Moretz has. Now, The Terminalist did have Chris Pratt. And they did do the Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt. So that would be your examples of star effers, as you said.
But they're spending the most insane amounts of money on shows that are not being watched. Like Daisy Jones and the Six has a $140 million budget.
Yeah. Where does that go?
There are so many movies that don't even come close to that.
Yep.
And nobody is watching it. I barely had even heard of it. I saw someone watching it on a plane, and I was like, "What's that?"
I've never heard of it.
And then you get,
and then they're selling this album from the fictional band in the show, and they're trying to recoup costs that way.
And then in the chat, somebody says Alan is quite a huge star. I don't know if Alan Richardson is as big a star as Chloe Grace Moretz. By name value alone, I would put Chloe Grace Moretz up there. Though you could make the argument now with the success. He was in Teen Titans, so he was in Titans. He was in that. I guess he was in Blue Mountain State back in the early 2000s. I don't think of him as the same level of star as a Chloe Grace Moretz. But also, remember, the other thing that they keep talking about here is... so if you remember, they made a TV version of A League of Their Own, which nobody needed or wanted to see because the original League of Their Own is considered a masterpiece in women's empowerment entertainment. And the funny thing is the Kotaku article gets really in their feelings about the fact that when these types of shows that are heavy with the messaging don't work out, they said Amazon is too focused on the data.
Yes.
People don't like these shows, and Amazon is just a big meanie head who cancels the show because nobody's watching it, as if to say, not only should you give us hundreds of $1 million to make our boring, message-laden entertainment, you should then continue to do so, even at a financial loss to yourself.
The
$20 one. From Hobbit.
Hobbit said, when is PCC getting a members-only segment? Your lesser-known sister show already has a members-only segment with fan call-ins. User success. Got to show them up before you get overshadowed and left behind.
Yes, that is true.
So true.
That little show over there at Timcast IRL.
We'll think about that for sure. But anyway, to get back on topic, this Hollywood Reporter article said that Vernon Sanders at Amazon Studios is someone who pays too much attention to the data and to focus groups. And what they found from the focus groups is that the data shows audiences find queer stories off-putting and suggests that downplaying those themes in materials promoting the show would help.
Yeah.
So instead of selling a show on the ticket that it's queer, that everything about it is gay and it's super progressive and inclusive and diverse, instead you should sell it based on a story. That's a really radical idea to these people.
Which they used to be very good at back in the day by making anything. I don't care if it's guy or girl. All the themes that have to do with identity and sexuality are less important than whatever the overall story is, and all of those themes fit better when they're more craftily couched within the storyline and not pushed front and center, because it's not that interesting.
Here's one
it's really not.
piece of shade that was thrown by someone at Amazon at The Terminalist, Jack Ryan, Jack Reacher, these types of shows. They said, all this perpetuation of white guys with guns, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Another said, relying on data is soul-crushing. There's never, I know the testing wasn't that great, but I believe in this.
Dude, so because I believe in it, you should spend hundreds of millions of dollars, waste it, so that I can make this project that I believe in that nobody else wants to see.
Salke took charge at Amazon and, quote, shot from the hip, went with her gut, and didn't let the data overrule her. Well, how has that worked out for you with Rings of Power when you went with your gut?
It's going fantastic.
It was a failure.
It's going fantastic. Didn't you see how good that first episode did, Mary? The viewership was so high.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Just a foolproof plan. They need to stop shoving the gay stuff in people's faces. It's clearly off-putting, and it's only celebrated by people in a very secluded group on social media that are in an echo chamber, like you said, Taylor, that they only listen to each other. So, when they're looking for how something is received, they need to stop looking at TikTok and just start looking at the numbers.
And I think what you were saying about the story has to be important. The details about a character are also important, but if it's a crap story, none of that matters.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is there's just too much stuff being made these days, and getting a good story written is a lot harder than they realize.
Did you watch A League of Their Own?
I've seen the movie. I didn't watch the TV show. I would never watch the TV show. That's no.
The movie is good.
The movie was
the original movie.
I mean, obviously, that was from a very long time ago. So that was at a far different time.
I'm biased to older movies.
Yeah,
movies used to be better.
It's true.
And speaking of old movies. Mary's face right now is...
Wait, what is this soundbite from?
Do you know that movie?
What is it?
Funky Butt Lovin'.
It's from the movie Rookie of the Year.
Oh, I don't know if I know that.
The baseball movie where the kid hurts his arm and they can throw the ball really hard.
Oh, okay.
It's when he goes
I saw
to
that, as a kid.
It's when he goes to the doctor when he gets his cast off. He slaps the doctor right in the face and breaks his nose. It's incredible.
Oh no! When the money blew out, I also got stink bugs flown at me. Come here, buddy.
Get rid of it.
You guys see this?
They're
everywhere.
Got it.
The camera shots right now are extremely chaotic.
Yes, they are.
Sorry, stink bug. You gotta go.
There's a lot that they could do here. It's also funny too because for the idea that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, there is just also a sad truism for them that stories about guys with guns are just inherently easier to tell and more interesting.
I mean, yeah.
To a larger percent of the audience.
She's talking about the Quadrant, which I wasn't aware of before. Male, female, over 35, and under 35. You can't be catering to the non-binary they, thems, and the Twitter gays when we're talking about half the population. Make a show about a quote white guy with a gun if you're trying to appeal to men over 35. Simple.
And back in the day,
it's called a safe hit for a reason.
Back in the day, you didn't market to small demographics. You marketed to men 18 to 49.
Yeah. Why are they so desperate for social media validation when the focus should be profits?
Yeah.
And you're also they're lamenting the fact that this is obviously Amazon is such a huge corporation that getting into entertainment is just a side hustle for them. They have endless resources essentially to do whatever they want in the production realm, and they're wasting tons of money on virtue signaling BS, and they have the resources if they wanted to make high quality stuff that actually requires thought and effort.
Do you think we'll ever return to a place of normalcy and people will realize that it doesn't sell, with the woke virtue signal stuff?
I mean, it's not even just the woke virtue signaling stuff that doesn't work. It's
There's
also just
the peripheral wasn't all that good, and that was not woke at all.
Yeah.
It just wasn't that good.
It's just everything just is one. It's unanimously just garbage. I don't know if we're going to recover to answer your question.
I think that there is maybe not quite as much good stuff being made as there used to be, but there is certainly more stuff in general being made. So the disparity between how much is good and how much is bad is much larger.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
When you
Which
go
means
out,
there should be a higher barrier to entry, though, right?
When you go out, when you look at the numbers, there's probably just as many good movies coming out came out in years past, but there's just way more stuff, period. So you're overwhelmed by the amount of things that aren't good, not by the things that are good.
You have to shuffle through more crap to find some good stuff.
Yeah.
Let me try to be smart with the math right now, though.
The math's not mathing.
The math's not mathing. So you're saying like you think the same amount of good movies are being made now, but it's just getting lost in the shuffle with all of the other
people
crap.
like John Wick. People like Dungeons and Dragons.
Why is it requiring us so many attempts now? That's what I'm asking. It's like, why is it that in the 80s or the 90s
it's not taking
we were
more
so
attempts.
much like the rate of success per like attempts, per year or whatever was so much higher. It's just, I think we were just less mentally ill.
Talent is still just as scarce as it used to be, but now the industry's full of, yes, the talented people are still there, but they let more people in, and those people, the sad fact of the matter is, just aren't as talented as those other writers and directors. James Cameron is still going to make his movie, and people are still going to go see it. Steven Spielberg are going to make his movies, and no one's going to go see it, even if the movie's good.
They're not bringing in that many new actors or actresses either, which is going to be a problem. Like all these people in who are grandfathered in, they're going to get. They're going to die eventually, or they're going to retire eventually. This can't go on forever.
Faces.
Yeah.
That'll. I mean, they bring new actors in all the time. I didn't even bring up the other one. After all my laughing about Harry Potter, I got immediate karmic pushback where I got slapped in the face by they're going to make a prequel to the movie Heat. Heat is my favorite movie of all time. It doesn't need a prequel.
I thought you said Sicario was your favorite movie of all time.
No. Heat. I mean, it's that scene, the border crossing scene. There is probably my favorite sequence of all time, at least tension wise. But it doesn't need a prequel. They don't need to make a movie with Adam Driver as young Neil McCauley. Though somebody did on my Twitter said they should call it Preheat.
That's pretty good.
But it doesn't need a prequel. Yikes. Like, there's no reason to make it. Even if Michael Mann is directing it, just like he directed the first one, there's no reason to do that. But you just can't. They can't
call
say
it
no.
Room temperature.
That's good. I like it.
You're also like a room temperature water stan. You said now.
I'm slowly becoming
disgusting.
I used to be a cold water only person, but realized that you can't chug. I don't like chugging cold water unless it's after skating. So room temperature is the only one that I can slam the bottle.
I'm a room temperature water person, except if it's seltzer water, then I like it chilled.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I was only drinking, I had a headache, so I was like slamming bottles of water.
Yeah, it like
to get rid of
hurts
the
your
headache.
insides to drink cold water.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just sensitive.
Did the horse on the set of Rings of Power die because Morphy Clark rode that horse, or
probably no, it died in the pre-production of season 2, so she probably wasn't even on set yet.
Cardiac failure.
And
R.I.P.
there was a fire on the set, so I really do think now that Jeff Bezos is no longer in charge, he's not the CEO anymore, right? Like he's like majority shareholder, but he's not the CEO of Amazon anymore.
Wait, who?
Jeff Bezos, is he still in charge over there at Amazon?
I don't know.
Or they put a new guy in charge over there. The ghost of Jeff Bezos' previous job has shined down on them. Or this could be the type of thing where they're like, look, they're trying to get signs from the heavens. It's kind of like Waterworld. Waterworld is the most like cursed movie set of all time. If you ever want to go up, there's whole documentaries that have been made about all of the problems making the movie Waterworld with Kevin Costner. I highly recommend going and watching them. Kind of in the same way that Jim Caviezel got like struck twice by lightning playing Christ in playing Jesus in Passion of the Christ.
I can't remember all the details or if I remember it correctly, but was it The Crow?
Yeah, well, he actually,
there was a death on set.
Yeah, Brandon Lee died on the set of that movie. That was very sad as well. But that was also like a very chaotic production and stuff like that. So, Amazon, they're taking the L on this. I am interested, however, to watch Citadel, which is coming out soon. It comes out this month.
That's $300 million.
That's insane.
Like, there's no reason. And also, okay, here's why, though. They said they're
like
making 3 versions of it at the same time for, 3 seasons each. They signed on all of this all at once. One for Italy, one for India, and one for, like, English-speaking countries.
Okay.
And this was all, like, signed at the very beginning. That they're making all 3 of these shows at once. They're connected, but not the same. It's going to be different. From what I can tell, different actors, different everything.
No Priyanka.
But it's all Citadel.
Subtitles.
Yeah, whatever happened to people reading subtitles? I don't know.
Actually, that's an interesting discussion. First of all, no Priyanka Chopra, no peace.
She's in the English speaking version as well.
I know she should be in all of them.
I don't know if she's going to be in the Indian version, but she's apparently. This is funny. She like talked about getting pay parity for the first time on Citadel because of all of the reshoots that they've done for this show, based on the Russo brothers coming in and just scrapping huge amounts of what they've already produced and filmed. And this is a show. If they're making 3 times over, they don't know if it's going to be successful, and they already have 3 seasons slated to happen.
But I kind of like the fact that it's like they're like, not only will we waste $450 million on Rings of Power and annoy you with advertising so over the top that your Amazon packages have Rings of Power tape, we will also waste $300 million on something you've never heard of, unless you literally have to host a pop culture show to know that this is even a thing. But we'll still waste $300 million on it. That's kind of a vibe to me. Go ahead and, you know what it was? End of the year, they had to get the money off the books.
So that Priyanka Chopra can break the glass ceiling.
Well, you know what? With looks like that, she should. I become very pro-feminist when they're smoking hot. No, I'm half kidding. She's very annoying on Twitter.
Only half kidding.
She's very annoying. She's absolutely one of the most over the top woman power people, but she's just really hot when she does it. So, if I'm gonna be yelled at about being
Joe
a guy,
Jonas is just like, yeah, babe.
Yeah, babe.
Sucks.
Like if I'm gonna be yelled
they
at,
don't pay you enough.
if I'm going to be insulted for being a man and yelled at, I'd rather it be by an extremely attractive woman than an ugly
Wouldn't have
woman.
seen her as the wife of the pastor's son.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't have seen that.
Good
coming.
for him.
I guess so, yeah.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.